Just a couple hours ago, we went through these doors right here and spoke to the city clerk asking if anyone was available to provide a comment on these two documents that were signed and written by Richard Breckenridge, the former city manager. Elena, I told you guys that it's like an old Western out here with these tumbleweeds, and I was not joking whatsoever. Look at this. A couple of these bunched together will be coming your way on the road. Bakersfield Christian High School students tell me that lunchtime looks a little bit different these days. You can see here they're sanitizing wipes as well as cards to socially distance. As you can see behind me, there is clear damage, a house that has been burnt to the ground here. There's smoke still everywhere with the remains of what is left. 60% of those are still unsolved. So this week is meant to bring dignity and respect to the victims of these homicides. Good evening, Alex. These are some of the buses going up Wolford Heights neighborhoods as we speak to help people evacuate today. Douglas DeBarro tells me it was in this doorway right behind me where his father was shot, and he says his mother, who saw the murder happen before her eyes, held her husband in her arms as he died. And now we did ask the governor if he thought it was wise that our local vaccination sites, some of them have been surpassing the eligibility requirements. It was the longest intermission that the Stars Theater has ever had, but as you can see, it is now officially over. Look at this almost packed house behind me. Now that you've grabbed your popcorn or your street fries, which they're known for here, you'll walk on over to get your ticket scanned. As you can see on the ground here, there are socially distanced signs to remind you to stay 6 feet apart. So we're going to walk on over back to Jenny Sullivan to ask about what you can expect when you are about to enter into the theater. It's been a war going on 20 years. An Afghanistan war veteran, Chad Garcia, has been deployed there 3 times. He says watching the major cities in Afghanistan fall to the Taliban in the past week, especially less than a month away from the 20th anniversary of 9/11, has been heavy.
And he had 3 daughters with him, and I had a daughter, and we were talking about family and children. And as I'm watching these people flee into the airport today, 20 years later, and seeing the people react to what's happening, I remember what he told me. He says all he wanted was his daughters, specifically his daughters, to learn how to read. In between training Afghan troops and carrying heavy equipment as an infantryman in mountainous, rugged terrain, Afghanistan war veteran Chad Garcia says he recalls those moments of getting to know the Afghan people. 3 times he was deployed there over 2 decades, seeing infrastructure slowly being built as the U.S. attempted to help Afghanistan become a democracy. Prior to these efforts, the Taliban governing the country then known as the Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan. This extremist group, according to the Associated Press, even sheltered al-Qaeda, the terrorist group responsible for the attacks on 9/11 almost 20 years ago. But in the course of the past week, major Afghan cities falling to the Taliban once more. And knowing what's coming back in power in Afghanistan right now, I all day long, I just haven't stopped being able to think about this guy and his daughters, and knowing that the Taliban is not going to let them do that. Their freedoms are definitely going to be cut short. 6,000 U.S. troops have been deployed to assist in the evacuation process of Americans and Afghan people that aided U.S. personnel throughout the past 2 decades while they were stationed in Afghanistan. House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy tweeting Sunday afternoon that, quote, President Biden must stop finding excuses for his own mistakes and address the country in person with how he plans to secure U.S. national interests, protect our personnel on the ground, assist the Afghan allies who have helped us, and prevent the resurgence of al-Qaeda, end quote. Garcia says he's not surprised that the Taliban took over so quickly. At one point during deployment, Garcia's unit went up against the Haqqani, an offshoot of the Taliban. It's almost like Hydra, you cut one head off, another one grows back. And so did I encounter the Taliban? I counted enough of its little fingers to know exactly what the Taliban's all about. Garcia explains that the Taliban is more complex than people may realize. Somebody commented on one of my Facebook posts and they said, I thought we had the Taliban on the run. Just because you haven't heard of the Taliban didn't mean it wasn't there. There are warlords and factions and supporters. ISIS was there. Once they saw us withdraw, there's a vacuum of all of these fighters who fall in line with this mentality. During this time, Garcia says that veterans need to stay positive, remember that they did their job, and to remember that they did not
fail. And he points to the many support groups locally that they can go to, and we'll have those linked on our website, turnto23.com. In Bakersfield, Kristin Vartan, 23 ABC News, connecting you. Kay Keeley, yeah, a car was traveling southbound on Old Farm Road, eventually crashing on the intersection of that road and Old Palm Avenue. Eventually, those Good Samaritans did show up and save his life.
I woke up and my little sister was like, a car's on fire. So I was like, our car's on fire. So I got up out of pretty much my trousers and ran out as fast as I could.
You may recognize Northwest Bakersfield resident Ricky Calvillo from this video. When he ran out and he said he saw his mother, Suzanne Garcia, quote, crying hysterically that a man needed help.
I was in the front of the house and I was watering and I saw a flash, so I imagine that he went through the intersection and then I heard a boom.
So as soon as I get over there, the man, he's bleeding. He's the car is it's smoking up, and you can tell like it was a bad crash.
The California Highway Patrol tells 23 ABC the driver was speeding down the southbound side of the road near the intersection of Old Farm Road and Palm Avenue in Northwest Bakersfield and crashed into an empty semi-truck. That's when the front cabin compartment caught fire. Sammy Shore says she lives right behind the house where the semi was parked and felt the walls of her house shake when the crash took place around 7 a.m. Thursday. At first, she thought the sound was the truck unhitching his trailer. Then she says her husband saw the smoke.
And I was just like, someone crashed, someone crashed, someone crashed. And so as soon as I got dressed, I immediately went to go grab a bucket. I told him, throw the hose over the wall because of our fence. And I said, start turning it on. I've got the bucket. I'm filling it up right now.
Calvillo also filled up buckets of water as fast as he could, pouring water from his neighbor's pool onto the car. Eventually, firefighters arrived on the scene to get the driver out of the vehicle.
Without us, you don't know what would happen. I mean, you probably know what would happen, but you obviously wanted to prevent the worst outcome from happening.
Officials say the driver is between the age of 25 to 30 years old, and at this time it is still unknown what caused this vehicle to cross lanes and crash into the parked semi-truck. Last we checked, he was in the hospital with life-threatening injuries. In Bakersfield, Kristin Vartan, 23 ABC News, connecting you. Good evening and thank you for joining us for 23 ABC News at 6 on air and online. I'm Kristin Vartan. The 4th of July festivities have already begun here in Kern County. Multiple cities are hosting festivals today, and the fireworks shows start later tonight. Congressional leaders want the Biden administration to help Western states dealing with severe drought conditions. Representatives from Colorado and California penning a letter to President Biden, calling on him to declare a drought disaster. The letter follows a similar request by governors from 10 Western states earlier this month. Bakersfield City Council is recruiting students to serve on the Bakersfield Youth Commission this school year. They are encouraging all students to take advantage of this program as there are still several seats available. There are 11 seats available to be exact, one in almost every ward except for Ward 5, who already has their 2 seats filled. And animal lovers, this one is for you. A 3-day free pet adoption event will happen at the Kern County Animal Services next month. Many of those traveling for the holiday have already hit the road by now, but of course, if you're a procrastinator, there's still time. The Oscars are historically Hollywood's biggest night out to celebrate a year in movies. But after a year of barely seeing any people, the theme this year was humanity.
Yeah, she has the moves.
Gosh.
She definitely does. I mean, she probably dances way better than we do. Bayan, you wanted to challenge us to a dance, but you got to go first. That's all I'm saying.
Oh gosh, all right, here we go. Little Oscars dance right here, just after winning the award.
It's been exactly a year since family members, friends, and fans said goodbye to Chadwick Boseman. After battling forces of evil as the Black Panther, his family revealed he was battling forces of nature. The star passed away on August 28th of last year of colon cancer. The star-studded cast happens to be called The Devil Has a Name, and they left their Hollywood sets for our agricultural landscapes, much like this one. Some music roads lead back to Kern County and Bakersfield. The connections to the AMA's nominees to Kern County you may have not known about tonight at 11.